Hello everyone, how are you doing today? I have to admit that when I woke up this morning and saw a fresh blanket of snow near Durham, Ontario, I was reminded of a phrase from a lovely movie called The Never-Ending Story, where at one point the main character had to guard against being sucked into the swamps of sadness. And I think that we just all have to try our best during this dark time not to get sucked into those swamps of sadness. So today, as my little contribution of trying to help keep your spirits up, I'm going to share with you a poem called City Car, Country Car. But before I do that, I'd just like to explain something about my own ideas about poetry. I think that for me, poetry is like a multi-lane highway. There are very many approaches to poetry, and one includes a kind of versifying, where you tell a story in rhyme. I always remember my dad, who really was not a patron of the arts in any way, but he did believe that for any poem to be worth its merit, it certainly had to rhyme. And the great poet Robert Frost got himself into a little hot water one time when he made the remark that free verse to him was like he'd rather play tennis with the net down. But of course we know that that's not really true, that some of the world's most enduring poetry has been written in free verse, and I will be sharing some of that in future videos. But today, I just thought I'd share this one with you, and I had shared it one time with my friend Laura Walker at a fundraising event, and a woman came up afterwards, a lovely woman named Carol Vanderhyde, and she said, "Oh, I am really glad that you shared that one about the car, because my husband is here, and he doesn't like poetry at all," he says, "but he liked that one." And today I'm dedicating this one to my dear friend Helen Trammell from Fairhope, where I met her in Fairhope. I think you may not be there just yet, Helen, but you will be again soon. And for some reason, and I think maybe because she had her own green Taurus, this poem resonated with her. So, City Car, Country Car. There is a little story that I would like to tell about a fine green Taurus that was loved so very well. It came to her one springtime from a dealer kind and true, who knew that when she touched the wheel, a bond would form like glue. And so it was for 7 years. Their paths became entwined, a middle-aged new driver and a car that aged like wine. What makes this story so unique to etch it in a rhyme is the complex situation that puzzled many minds. The driver was a teacher of young children in the city, but she longed for country living and thought, now what a pity, not to buy that house all made of stone that caught her dreamy eye, for it was nestled in a valley carved between the rocks and sky. And soon the teacher found herself in a city-country dance, a tango with the Taurus that caught everybody's glance. "Is she crazy?" was the comment. "Has her mind begun to roam? 4 hours spent commuting just to bring the bacon home?" But in her own opinion, she had the best of each. A job where different cultures valued skills she tried to teach. And a home that was a dream come true, that took her breath away, a private piece of heaven with a price she chose to pay. And so began the long commutes through every changing season. No matter what the challenge was, there always seemed a reason to crisscross through the province just to keep her life together, with one eye on the scenery and the other on the weather. The whiteouts and the sleet and snow, the fog and driving rain, the roads that made her knuckles turn all white from gripping pain. 3 angels hanging from the mirror, and prayers from many lips, kept that teacher warm and safe from danger on her trips. Except for one dark, fateful night, when in the headlight's beam, A phantom passed before her like the edges of a dream. And though she tried her best to stop, a shattered windshield told the power of pure destiny on a winter's night so cold. Airbag smoke and twisted chrome all added to the strife of a $7,000 crash that cost a deer its life. Yet even in this accident, a tale of the unexplained, the touch of a guardian angel, a bit of wisdom gained. With not a scratch upon herself, the teacher clutched the phone that she kept for such emergencies when she was not at home. She thought about the owner of the local dealership. Randy told her she should call him if in trouble on her trips. She tried to dial his number, just to find the battery dead. Then she felt her worries worsen with a certain sense of dread. For there she was, all alone, in winter's bleakest hour, with a broken car, a business card, no telephone or power. Now Randy, on that very night, just happened on his way to be picking up his daughter at a birthday party's play. Like a knight in shining armor, he arrived upon the scene and instantly observed her plight there in the headlight's beam. "You won't believe this, Randy," she exclaimed in disbelief. "Your business card is in my hand, and now you bring relief?" Before a couple weeks had passed, that Taurus was renewed by the skilled mechanics at Boyd Brothers, the best of any crew. And on those picture-perfect days, when silent mist would rise, and the clouds were kissed by color in a masterpiece of sky, she concluded all was worth it, and for many years a friend was the comfort of her Taurus and the view round every bend. The splendor of September and October's autumn glory, the twinkling of a million lights that told the Christmas story, the aching white of winter as it stretched across the land, and the promise of the springtime gently held in nature's hand. All these visions passed before her in a grand parade of life, with births and deaths and marriages, the laughter and the strife, the trips to vets and hospitals, the precious cargo too, passengers like Mother and her friends, both old and new. And through the years, of course, there were some minor car repairs, but Randy's shop or Summit Ford were always very fair. The teacher took that treasured car like a student on a test, for regular inspections, just to keep it at its best. If she needed auto service, Ford's most amazing crew tended to her every need, as if they truly knew how deeply she depended on this car she'd come to know. Far better than a romance that can quickly lose its glow. But life is full of changes, and nothing lasts forever. Eventually, the signals came like the ever-changing weather. New alternator, tie rods, transmission leaks, and more were signs straight from the Taurus that it had done its chore. Then one day, at the Dairy Queen, while she was driving through, the teacher started wondering what she would ever do when the Taurus was retired, its well-earned rest proclaimed. Trips in any other car would never be the same. She mused about this matter as she waited for her fix. The proof was on the dashboard, 400,000 clicks. I guess by now it must be clear I was a teacher in that story, and I felt compelled to share with you the details and the glory. The car is a symbol in my mind, a slice of life gone by, and I send it to the dealer's lot with a teardrop in my eye. But I'm thankful for the years it gave to meet my travel needs. I've many tender memories as I watched it take its leave. So now I make this solemn vow, my witness be the Lord. In all commuting years ahead, I'll only drive a Ford. And And I realize as I read that I've broken that vow because I do drive my sister-in-law's Buick from time to time. So I might just change that line and just say I'll only buy a Ford. Because poets do that. We take poetic license and we change words here and there. And I just want to mention that when I drove through the Dairy Queen at 400,000 kilometers, it was staged a little bit with my beautiful driver of that night, who my lovely niece Nancy Sinclair happened to be driving my car on the way up from Toronto. And I saw as we approached the Dairy Queen in Orangeville that it was so close to 400,000 that it should be kind of ceremonial how we really passed that mark. So we drove around in the parking lot for a couple twists and turns so that we could be right at the takeout window at 400,000 kilometers. And even at that great distance on that car, I was able to sell it for another life for the car for a few years. And that's another story I'll tell you at another time. But I just wanted to remind you that really in this time when we're so isolated and are missing our friends, that we should appreciate in some ways the solitude, and we should perhaps just continue to reach out to our friends, because although the touch is not there, it's one of the great benefits of technology that we can actually stay connected. And my lovely niece Nancy also assured me that it's okay to ask people to share the videos. She said, just write it in the comments or somehow tell them that you really appreciate it when they touch that share button. Because we are so interconnected now in our society through this social media that it'll be very interesting to see how far the poems go. I know Helen Trammell, this poem was for you today. I appreciated that you shared it because I noticed that one of the comments was, or the emoji, was from P.T. Paul, a very gifted writer down there in South Alabama. And I had lost touch with her completely. So it's just really a refreshing way to keep connected in these difficult times. So I'm going to leave you with just a thought that if you start to feel sad, let your mind go to something that brings you a sense of beauty or loveliness. As Wordsworth said in his great poem about the daffodils, that when oft upon my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash before the inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills, and dances with the daffodils. So in this dark time, just keep dancing. Thanks for watching.